Broken Arrow is a game designed for casual players, and I think that's a good thing. Hello, my name's Heinrich. I'm the world number one Broken Arrow player. I like to play RTS games competitively. Broken Arrow's just about to come out, and at this point you're probably thinking, well, how's he the world number one Broken Arrow player? Anyway, with my credentials as the world number one Broken Arrow player, I've noticed a lot of things with the way Broken Arrow is structured, which makes it more inclined to a casual audience. And I honestly think that's a good thing. In this video, I'll be explaining that. There will be timestamps in the description which go through every single part of the argument step by step. I don't really believe in editing. I've got all my arguments in front of me. I've got some notes on my right in a notepad document. I'll show you it at the end. It's not a script. I'm just going to talk about my experience with the game, how I think the game is designed for casual play, why I think that's a good thing, and yeah. So let's get on with it. So. You're entitled to your own opinion, but people tend to get very, very upset about this. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. So what is a casual? Who is a casual, right? This is a casual. Most people who play video games are casual gamers. They have a job, they have a life, they touch grass, right? Grass is not featured in this GIF, but they do touch grass. So they spend most of their day doing other things, and then when they want to chill out, they boot up a video game. Just to chill out. They don't want to take it particularly seriously. They don't want it to be a second job. They already have a first job, right? They've got nothing to prove. They just want to chill out, play a game with their friends. And that's completely fine. That's most people. I think that's very healthy. I think being a competitive video game player is actually really quite unhealthy, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. So why appeal to casuals? I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? Most people are like this. Most people have work or school or university, and they don't have 16 hours a day to dump into a video game. They just want to chill out and have a good time. So from a game maker's perspective, that's most of your audience or your potential audience, and you should try and cater to them. If you don't, you're a fool. So most RTS games die because they only appeal to the competitive audience. StarCraft 2 has ruined a generation of RTS games, basically. These days, everybody's trying to be the next StarCraft 2. All they think about are esports, right? So this was the argument for why appeal to casuals, right? Because of the money. Like I said, no editing. But yeah, so here's a game very close to my heart, right? It's called Industrial Annihilation. It's a sequel to a game called Planetary Annihilation. Planetary Annihilation failed because they appealed directly to the competitive audience. So at launch, there was a 1v1 ranked mode. There was a spectate mode. You could view other people's replays. You could view the replays of anybody who had ever played a ranked game. It was all about 1v1 competitive. And the game flopped. Why did it flop? Because the single-player offering was absolutely terrible. Most RTS players only play single-player, right? Those who do play multiplayer usually play either PvE, so versus bots, right? You and your mates versus bots, so co-op, basically. Or they play big multiplayer modes. So in Wano, think 10v10. In FAF, so Forged Alliance Forever, or Beyond or Reason, think 10v10. I think it's 10v10. In something like Age of Empires, 4v4 is the biggest mode, and guess what? It's the most popular. They always gravitate towards the biggest mode. And I guess I'm skipping ahead a bit more, but that's basically because it's more spectacle. It looks cool, right? And it's less individual pressure. So if you go and play through the Eugen games, which are the most similar games to Broken Arrow, you'll find that the 10v10 game modes are always the most popular. And people say it's hot for all sorts of reasons. The main reason is because it's just casual fun, and most players are casual. So, Planetary Annihilation only catered to the 1v1 crowd, launched with a very rubbish single player, and it died. And then they released the sequel, Industrial Annihilation, and it launched without any PvE at all. The only game mode available was 1v1. I believe it now has, you can play versus the AI, and it has one player. You might think it's an isolated example. No, it is not. Here is Line War. Line War launched. Line War styled itself as a more casual RTS. It takes out the micro by you basically just draw a line between your base and the enemy, and the units will advance on the line. It was a nice idea, but it turns out you can draw better lines if you're better at the game, so it didn't really get rid of the micro. But it launched with only a 1v1 mode. Not even a team mode. No versus AI, nothing like that. It was only a 1v1 mode. It's dead, Jim. Stormgate. Stormgate, absolutely classic example. This one had a lot of money behind it. It was made by ex-Broken Arrow developers. And their plan was to be the next StarCraft 2. So they focused on 1v1 competitive, and they died. Right. This is it's happened with so many games. Let's have a look at some games that do prioritize the single player. We've got Age of Empires 4, which had, in terms of like how great the single player campaign was, I personally didn't find it compelling, but they had clearly put a lot of effort into it. They had film crews going around historical castles in Europe and filming them and saying that this is where the battle actually happened. And they clearly put a lot of money and a lot of time into the single player offering, and it did very well. Obviously, these numbers are negative. These games are declining in popularity over time because they're not getting that many updates, and they're all very old. But you'll notice that this one is 22,548, and this one is 1. So if you want to be 22,548 times more successful than your competition, focus on the casuals. So yeah, next section. So how is Broken Arrow courting casuals? Well, we've just spoken about the single player. So I did an FAQ thing on my channel. I should have had this up beforehand. Very poor editing. I'm going to fire my editor. So you can just look at this. It's me reading through the Q&A document. I'll link it in the description. But here's the Q&A document. Okay, so there's going to be a 19 mission single player campaign. That's huge. That's absolutely massive. That's actually a very big campaign. I played one mission on my channel. I should have also had the video up. Very poor editing. I do apologize. And it took me an hour. I was playing on hard, granted, but I'm the world #1 Broken Arrow player, so, you know, it's only right for me to play on hard. And it took me an hour. They said not all the missions have the same length. Some are shorter than others. That might have been a longer one. And so you can estimate somewhere between 10 to 20 hours to play the campaign. It also has some replayability in it, like there are bonus objectives, side objectives. It's got voice acting, it's got a story. I think it's gonna be good. I mean, we have to play it. It's just me personally, I prefer 1v1 competitive multiplayer, which is, you know, I'm sort of shooting myself in the foot with these arguments, but I'm trying to be objective. I'm telling you why it is the way it is, or why I think it is the way it is. You know, we'll get onto this, but basically the only 1v1 mode in this game is a cope mode where you can basically try and play 1v1, but it's not properly made or anything, or you can make your own scenario. So yeah, 19 mission campaign, and it's going to launch with a scenario editor, which means you can make your own campaigns. And from what we know of the scenario editor, you can put your own voice acting in it, you can put your own cutscenes in it. That's really cool, actually. So there's going to be lots of single player content because other people are going to make campaigns of varying quality, right? The big shame, the big mistake they've made is that there's not going to be a map editor. Now, I spoke about this in the I Cover the Q&A video, if you want more information on this. Basically, what I think it is, and from what I've heard from speaking to people, when you have a map maker, you buy software which helps you make maps, and you can't redistribute that software without having to pay for additional licenses, so they can't let you make the maps, because then you would have to pay, they would have to pay for your copy of the software that they bought from somebody else, which helps them make the map. But that software doesn't actually go into the game. I hope that makes sense. So it's a shame there's no map editor, because it means the campaigns are always going to happen on the same maps. It would be cool if they could just pump out some maps with like various terrains on them. So like, here's a snow map, here's a desert map, and then just let people go wild with it. I guess it depends how successful the game's going to be. So yeah, it's launching with a scenario editor. It's launching with Steam Workshop support. And and because it's made in the Unity game engine, it is launching with quite a bit of modability. Because the Unity game engine, people are very familiar with it. If you think about something like City Skylines 2 or 1, they're made in Unity, and there are loads of mods for it because everybody, lots of people know how to mod Unity. So yeah, there's another sort of bit of a weird one where there's no skirmish against AI. So at release, skirmish mode will only be 3v4, 4v4, and 5v5 PVE, and you can't have the AI on your team. They did clarify this in another place. You can't have the AI on your team. So I mean, that's not great. But I think this is that's not their design. It's they ran out of time. I'm getting that impression because they said they're going to add it later. So let's compare that to the biggest competitor, right? I always do this. I'm the world #1 Wano player. And so, this is Wano. Wano and Broken Arrow were made from the same. There was a game called Wargame Red Dragon, right? One of the developers on Broken Arrow worked on Wargame Red Dragon, and the rest of them were part of a competitive clan that played a lot of team games in Wargame Red Dragon, and they went off to make their own game, Broken Arrow. The developers of Wargame Red Dragon, minus the one who left, went on to make Wano, so they're very similar games. So the single player offering of Wano is like, I mean, I'm not a single player guy. I'm a competitive 1v1 world's best Broken Arrow player guy. But it's not good, really. I mean, so basically they have missions. Half of these were added in DLC. So I believe the last half were added in DLC. It might just be these 5, and then the rest were in the base game. I think. I can't remember. And so these are like isolated missions. So there's no coherent storyline. Basically, Wano is World War III, but in 1989. Broken Arrow is World War III, but in like 2030 or something. So yeah, it's some of the missions are all right. I haven't even played them all. I just sort of stopped because I got bored. So that tells you everything you need to know. The main draw is something called Army General, which if I try and show you, it's going to start playing a cutscene and it's not going to let me skip it. So basically, beep boop beep boop. Yep. So basically, you get a board, right? This is actually the smallest one, I think. Most of the boards are a lot bigger, and you get pieces on the board, like in Total War, right? And your pieces engage the enemy pieces, and then you have a random battle, or you have like a battle on a random map, and you try and win that battle. These pieces dictate what forces you'll bring into the arena, so, you know, scouts and so on. And let's say the 11th Armoured Cavalry Regiment gets absolutely hammered. The next time I use it, let's say I lose this in the last battle, it won't be there anymore. So it's reasonably compelling. I personally find it very boring. It's sort of like a mile wide and an inch deep. I much rather prefer like a story, but that's just personal preference. So there is a big single player in this. So I suppose it's not really fair to say one is better than the other, given that I've played one and I haven't played the other. I mean, I've played a couple single player Broken Arrow missions that I've had access to early, because they like me, I guess. I don't know why. But, anyway, it seems that this has a much larger. Oh yeah, and in Wano you can't make your own single player missions. So basically, Broken Arrow, heavy on the single player. That's a good thing. Most casuals play single player. Single player game, 22,548 people playing right now. Multiplayer, 1 person playing. Multiplayer, 19 people playing. Multiplayer, 61 people playing. All of these came out after this one. And you might say, well, you're being unfair. This is one of the most popular games ever. All right. Here's a game you can't even buy anymore. You literally cannot get this anymore, and there's still 14 people playing it on Steam, which is more than this. And this one is older than all of these. But yeah, even so, there's like 2 versions of Age of Empires 2 here. It's crazy. Even Age of Empires 1 has more. So yeah, focus on the single player if you want to make some money. So let's talk about multiplayer. So, just to recap, most RTS players play single player. Those who do play multiplayer tend to play co-op and PvE. And those who do play multiplayer and not co-op tend to play massive team games as big as they can possibly get. And 1v1 is like a niche within a niche within a niche within a niche. So there's not really a 1v1 mode. They said you can make your own scenario or you can make your own custom lobby to try and play 1v1, but it's not balanced for it at all. And look, balancing for 1v1 and other single player configurations are planned for future updates, so it's not a priority for them, basically. So the main game mode is 5v5. The only game mode with matchmaking is 5v5. If you want to see what that looks like, I've got loads of footage of it on my channel. I'm just trying to find... Really? Okay, it doesn't even say it here? Wow, okay. Well, just believe me, bros. So this is 5v5. 5 versus 5, right? And, here's sort of what it looks like. A big team means that you have less responsibility. I suppose I've already said this before. And so a nice big team game mode is for casual players because it means that it doesn't really matter too much what you do. The bigger the team, the less your individual contribution matters. I mean, it's like anything, really. That's just common sense. So in 1v1, it's entirely your fault if you lose. That turns a lot of people off. A lot of casual players, after coming home from their, 8-hour manual labor job or 8-hour office job where their boss yells at them, they don't want something where it's all on their head and it's kind of stressful. I love it, but I appreciate it's not a majority opinion, and we have to accept that. So one game mode, 5v5, it's the only one with matchmaking, and that means that, keep the player base as high as possible for that one mode, because let's say you had matchmaking for 5 different modes, 5v5 up to 1v1, or down to 1v1. It would be harder to find a 5v5 game. Not much harder, because that would be the most popular one. But yeah, basically concentrate all the players in one game mode, makes it easier to find games, faster search times, more casual audience. Come home from a long, hard day of work, you don't want to wait 10 hours to find a game. That's an exaggeration, right? So what does this mean practically? Well, it means that each player is given an elo, and the game is balanced so that the team elos are the same on each one. If you win a game, your elo goes up. If you lose a game, your elo goes down. So what this means in practice is, so at the start, there's going to be lots and lots of games where you will find guys of around your elo. Now, the longer the game goes on, the fewer people are going to play. It doesn't matter how good the game is, people get bored, people move on, new games come out, people die of old age, right? And so, Zoomers are born and they only want to play Fortnite. So as this goes on, you will find that the average the elo spread in the game will begin to increase because there'll be fewer and fewer people searching, so it'll just throw together everybody it can, basically. And so what that means is that if you're a very good competitive Broken Arrow player, you're constantly going to be put on a team with people who aren't very good, right? I got nothing against this guy personally. This was just like a press game, so it's not really representative, but this is basically what's going to be happening to you. If you're like a superstar player like Hippie here, wow, best player in the universe, this elo must be a mistake. He's going to be put on a team. He's going to be balanced out by being given... I mean, we give unflattering names to these people. Just somebody who is less good, right? And what that means is that basically casual players are being carried by better players, or super bad players are getting carried by better players, and better players are being pulled down as if they have an anchor to their feet. They're being pulled down by less good players. So that caters towards the casual audience because the bad players will still win games because they'll be put on a team with better players. And so if the skill-based matchmaking is working optimally, every player should win 50% of the time. The only reason, in a completely optimum system, the only reason you would ever have an above 50% win rate is because you have improved significantly. So your elo is actually higher than what the game thinks your elo is. And so the only way to maintain an above 50% win rate in a perfectly match-made system is to just constantly improve forever. So, and some people can do that for a long time, right? I played Dota 2. I had like a 60% win rate or something, which was very high because I was improving fast. But eventually you improve slower and slower, and that win rate starts to go back down to 50. I mean, it's just, you can only get so good. Depends how much time you want to waste. So it benefits casuals, right? And yeah, there's no official 1v1 mode. I suppose I already covered that. So let's talk about the game mode itself. Basically, there are zones on the map, which you can see over here. And if you take the zone, you get if you so these are the number of zones. If you have one more zone than your opponent, I'm sorry, a bit small for mobile users, but that's just the way it is. I suppose I could try and I should have done this beforehand. I do apologize for my poor editing. So, this is you. This is your opponents. Oh, I've done it wrong. Sorry, I'm just bad. I'm casual at making this video. This is the number of points. If you have one more point than your opponent, so let's say all these are blue. I mean, you should be able to get this, but you know, whatever. So that's not blue. Wow, I'm very casual. I'm very casual at MS Paint. 4, 5. So let's say you have one more blue point than red points, or they haven't captured one or whatever. Then you would, in the first phase, you would get +1 on conquest, right? If you have two more, you'd get +2. If you have three more, you'd get +3. You also get points for kills. The points you get for kills are equivalent to the points you get for taking zones. Taking zones is very difficult. Taking zones requires attacking in real war, right? Which is this is definitely not, but attacking in real war is a lot harder than defending. And in game, that is also the case. Why? The defender doesn't have to click as fast. If his units are set up, the enemy has to click really fast to move into him, and he'll just sit there and his units will automatically start shooting the defenders, right? So the attacker's got to be paying attention everywhere, he's got to be microing a lot, it's very difficult, and the defender basically just has to sit there. So attacking is harder than defending. And if you play, so casual players prefer defending. In fact, the most popular map in the open beta was a map called Kaliningrad, which was basically just a bunch of rivers, and it was very, very, very difficult to attack across them. So the most popular map was a map that favored defending even more than the game already favors defending. So, you know, STB, whatever they're called, Steel Balaclava, they're catering to their audience, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I am in the minority. Um, let's leave out the immigration jokes. And so, yeah, the fact of the matter is, you can get equivalent points from kills. So let's say you absolutely break your back, getting 4 more zones than the enemy. Right? Let's just say you take them all. Let's just say you take them all. Wow, you're so good. You must be as good as me. You must be a competitive Broken Arrow player. You would still only get a maximum of +3 in the first phase. Both of these numbers go up at the same rate. And let's say for your troubles, the enemy managed to kill, in the press beta, it was 1,000 kills for one of these. So let's say they managed to kill 3,000 points more. It's not 3,000 guys, 3,000 points. A top-of-the-line tank is about 400 points. Just something to keep in mind. Let's say they managed to kill 3,000 of your guys, and you take the whole map. Guess what? Both teams get 3 points at the end of the phase. So, so for all that effort, all they got to do is sit there and not die. So there's a lot of this with the way the game mode is working. The game mechanics, they constantly just grab the better player and just pull him back. They pull him back by giving him worse teammates. They pull him back by giving him a bad game mode, right? Let's talk about the income. This is another way. The good player, you just grab him and you just pull him back. I guess, sorry, you can't see this because I'm just fading into the void. But basically, one day I was coming back home from university. I was talking to my mate, and I walked across the road, and he just grabs the back of my bag and pulls me back. He's a bit bigger than me, and anyway, a motorcycle went past, so he just stopped me from just toaster bathing myself, as the Roblox guys say. And that's basically, I was the good player. I was the good player, and that was the world number one broken arrow player crossing the road there. Right, would have got across the road really fast, and then the game it just grabbed me and it just pulled me back, and that's what's happening here. It's basically the same thing, right? So let's talk about the income. So we've talked about the game mode and how you get points. Basically, in a traditional RTS such as Age of Empires, right, you get points for having built economic buildings. So in Age of Empires, you build villagers. The villagers gather resources. Then you spend the resources on a crossbowman or something. That is difficult. That is not for casuals because you have to manage your whole base, and a big part of the game becomes can I snipe the enemy's base so that he gets fewer resources so that I can outproduce him. It's exciting for me. I find it really interesting, but for most people, they find it absolutely infuriating. The casual audience, the fish, he's just come home from work, right? He's been sat in traffic, and he wants to play some video games, and then his eco gets raided by one horseman that he just can't catch, and he just switches off the game and he goes and plays Fortnite. Or Roblox or whatever. I suppose he's too old for that. He plays Call of Duty. So how does it work in this game? You get points off Uncle Sam or Uncle Putin or whatever, and you spend it on units. So it just cuts out that whole other part. The game I come from, Wano, also does this, and it's just a great way to casualize the game because you don't have to worry about your eco getting raided. The only thing you really have to worry about is your reinforcements coming from the edge of the map, so they can put somebody there and then intercept them. And that's a big part of Wano. In this game, it's not as important for reasons we'll get onto. So you get points off the government and you spend them on an S300 or whatever, right? I need to reiterate this again. I don't really have a problem with any of this. I'm just explaining to you that this game is designed for casual play and why I think it's designed for casual play. It is what it is. It's just sort of a take it or leave it thing. I'm not saying they need to change this. I'm not saying I need berry bushes at the back of the map so I can buy conscripts and get them to gather the berry bushes or whatever. So and then the enemy, the enemy's gonna raid my berry bushes, right? I got to defend my factories to produce my tanks, right? I'm not asking for it. I'm just saying this is the way it is. So basically, the way so this is already a casualization. The way it is further casualized is that the more units you get on the map, the more this number goes down. So at the start here, I've got +244, and then throughout the game, it goes down and down and down, depending on how many units you've got on the map. So yeah, it's just I'm just trying to illustrate 149, 244. The more units you have on the map, the lower your income goes, and it's sort of asymptotic in a way, in that it's a unit cap basically. It's a soft unit cap because the more units you get, no, hang on, we need units here. Yeah, we need units here, but it's gonna look stupid. Units and money. No, time. So because your income keeps going down, your units it goes like this. So that there's a line that you basically can never cross because your income's going to keep going down and down and down until you just can't buy anything anymore. But you'll still be getting like 1 point a minute or whatever. So it's a line that you never reach. It's called an asymptote. And let's say you lose all your units, then it just does it again. So that's a casualization. It means that you don't have too many units to manage, which makes it a lot easier for the fish. The fish doesn't want to micro 50 units. So the game I come from, Wano, right, you get 260 points a minute, every minute, regardless of what's going on. So if you're a really good player, you're always using your units. But if you're not such a good player, if you're a casual player, you can't use them all because you can't click fast enough, basically. And so the units just tend to build up and build up and build up and build up. And by the end of the game, you end up with a lot of units. I wonder if I can find an example of that. So I'm looking for a very specific game I played where basically I was against another good player and I just couldn't attack him. And so I just sat there and built up for 20 minutes. And by the end of it, you could barely tell what was going on the screen. It was I had to reduce the size of my unit labels so that I could actually see my units. Oh well, if I can't find it, I can't find it. I should have got it ahead of time. I did think about it. Here it is. So basically, we were two evenly matched players, and I was playing a div I wasn't very familiar with, and I wanted to attack, but I just kind of couldn't because the division I was playing was kind of bad, and so I ended up with like basically like 100 units. Yeah, so like look at this. I mean, this isn't even the height of it. I was still buying more, and he's got more units that I can't see back here. But there's more units on this screen than you would ever get in Broken Arrow. In Broken Arrow, you tend to get about 20 units. You can get cheaper units, right? In which case you'd have some more units. People always say this. Yes, I get it. You can get cheaper units in this game as well. But in general, in Wano, you get about 2.5 times more units than you do in Broken Arrow, roughly. If you don't lose any, then you get more because the income never goes down, right? So this is Broken Arrow, whereas this is Wano, and it will literally just go off the screen because your income doesn't go down. But yeah, if you're fighting, then it should never go up that much because you're gonna lose units, you're gonna lose units, you're gonna lose units, you're gonna lose units. But the fact of the matter is, if left to your own devices, it just does that. And if you're a casual player and you can't click all your units at once, it does this, and then they complain about spam and blobs, and that's why that's happening. So yeah. Sorry, I've so yeah, the game basically. So back to this. If you're a good player in Broken Arrow, you can never outtrade a bad player. Well, you can in terms of kills, which is why this destruction thing is the way it is. This is why the kills have to matter in this game, because because you have a unit cap, right? Because in Wano the kills don't matter. There's a game mode where the kills matter, right? Only the points matter. And so that means that if you're playing better than your opponent, right, if you're blue team and you're out trading red team, then eventually your units will, let's say there was a big battle, eventually you'll end up with more units, right? So let's say they're both doing all right, and then in the big battle, red is bad. Then eventually this big gap here will grow to such an extent that the blue team can basically just walk into the zones and take them. That's a simplification, but that's basically what's happening. Whereas in Broken Arrow, the two teams are always going to have this problem where they just both like so blue team does this, whereas red team, let's say red team are all baddies, right? Because I'm not on their team, and they're growing, they're growing, they're growing, they die, right? But then at the start, it will go back up fast and then slow down again, and then they die, and they go. And so by this point, right? By this point, they actually have the same number of units, even though these guys lost all these units and lost all these units. So that's why you need the destruction mode. So the destruction mode is added to solve a problem that they've created through the income mode, because otherwise there'd be, this would be completely unfair. So here's the trade here, right? So I hope that makes sense. The destruction mode, because basically we call these conquest and this destruction, because that's what the individual game modes are called in Wano. You can call it what you want, but otherwise this would happen. So I hope that's explanatory. So yeah, in this way, right? So you would lose the game, but you can still play the game and have a great time because you just keep getting all your units back, and that's what the casual play is kind of all about. You lose all your units, you get them back really quickly. Your income goes back up, so you can end up in situations like this one. And no offense to this guy, it was like the first time he'd ever played the game, but he's managed to die way more than I have managed to die, but we had the same number of units because he would lose his whole army and get it all back and lose it all and get it all back. Whereas because I wasn't losing units as fast, I would get less income. So it's not very competitive in that sense. But that is the way it is. There's also other things with this, right? So the game mechanics. Let's talk about the game mechanics now. There's an infinite regeneration of units. So in Wano, for example, I mean, I always talk about Wano. In multiplayer, you would build a deck similar to this, and if you lose 4 tanks, you just don't have those tanks anymore for the rest of the game. So there's certain. I'm sort of hoping I can show you like a proper competitive 1v1 deck. So here is a competitive semi-competitive 1v1 deck. I'm trying to think of something important. So there are certain divisions where this matters more, and certain divisions where this matters less. This is a division called Berlin Command. It's not really a competitive division, but it gets 2 Nighthawk bombers. Now, these, in 1989, are very, very good. Obviously, in Broken Arrow, it's set in the future. They're not as important. But here, they're very, very good. And the whole divisional concept, this is quite rare. Usually, it's not this bad or this centered around what we would call a unicorn unit. But it does happen. So, if you lose these 2 Nighthawks, you basically lose the game as this division. The whole division, like, this is what puts you ahead. This is your primary advantage. These only come on this division. And if you lose these, you're basically done for. Because what this means is you can delete any unit the enemy has. Every 2 minutes, you can delete... Yeah, so every minute, you can delete 1 enemy unit with one of these bombers. So the enemy's primary... And they're very stealthy. They're very hard to detect. So that's why they call it a noob hawk. If you do detect it, you can kill it really, really, really easily. And so this is like a terribly unforgiving gameplay. If the opponent doesn't kill this, he's doomed to lose one of his units, and it can be a super heavy tank, it can be a poxy little supply truck, anything. This thing kills anything on the ground. Once a minute, you just start losing them. They just explode. Because this is stealthy, you can't even see it come in. You can hear it, but you can't see it. Unless you've got a fighter right next to it. So it's very cutthroat in that sense. It's very uncasual. Because it's absolutely it's a knife fight. There's no room for mistakes. Because if you don't deal with this, you just lose. If you've got both up, you lose 2 units a minute to these bombers. Whereas in but if the Berlin Command player loses these 2, then he just doesn't have them anymore for the rest of the game. They are gone. In Broken Arrow, it's not like that at all. In Broken Arrow, these regenerate. So let's say I lose my 2 S300s, which is more common than you might think. The S300s will regenerate. It's the cost of the unit times by something plus 2 minutes. Something like that. So within a few minutes it comes back. So if you lose your super giga ultra nonsense unit, you're given a second chance. The game gives you a second chance. And this game is all about second chances. Going back to the game mode, these scale over time. So at the start of the game, they're all +1. And then in the next phase, I mean, they keep changing it, so they might change it again. But in the next phase, they're all +2. And in the next phase, they're all +3, right? And, well, what does that mean? So it means if you completely win phase 1 by an absolute landslide, right, the maximum, let's say you win on destruction and on flags, you're just the best, you've taken the whole map, you've killed their entire army, you would, sorry, this is getting a bit confusing now, you would get, for all your troubles, you would get +6. If in the final phase, the enemy has 1 more kills than you and 1 more zone than you, they would get +6. So there's always a second chance. There's always a second chance. And that's what casual play is all about. You're not really punished for your mistakes in the same way that you are in a more competitive title. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I know I need to keep saying this. I'll still get people in the comments who just completely don't understand what I'm saying at all. This guy does not want a game where he could lose in the first 5 minutes and never have a chance to come back, right? He wants a second chance. He wants a second chance in the game because he didn't get a second chance in life, and now he can't leave his job because otherwise he'd lose his home. And he's stuck as an indentured servitude until his retirement, which just keeps getting pushed further and further away because the government keeps raising the age because the taxes he paid went to foreign wars. So after a long, hard day, he really doesn't want to play a game where he just gets the crap beaten out of him by some 16-year-old kid. And he wants a second chance, basically. So who can fault him, really? And yeah, so that's it for the income and the game mechanics. Oh yeah. The other thing, which I don't really have a good piece of footage for, nothing in this game, or it's very very rare in this game for units to be one shot. So if you've got your super mega tank or whatever, and you shoot like the cheapest transport in the game with your Giga Ultra Abrams or your T-14 Armata, and you shoot a literal car, the car will not explode in one shot. It just doesn't do it. It doesn't matter. It's there's some kind of inbuilt protection that even if you overkill it, like look at this guy on his no HP.
Oh,
Whoops. People tell me I have a bad laugh. I have the world #1 laugh. This guy should have died to the last thing that hit him. But there's this kind of like saving grace plot armor thing where you get a lot of units left on 0 HP and then the next shot will kill them. And sometimes it is a bit ridiculous. There is a threshold, so if you drop like a 2,000-pound bomb on them, they do tend to die in one hit. So air tends to be a one-hit kill. And things tend to one-hit kill air, which is kind of not great because those are the most expensive units. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, it's a very very forgiving game. If you have a transport full of infantry and if you have a transport full of infantry and the transport gets blown up. I'm sorry, I'm just retarded. I'm trying to do two things at once here. The infantry inside won't die; they'll all survive. So let me just say that again because I said it really badly here. If you have a transport full of infantry and the transport dies, which can't happen in one hit anyway, unless it's a plane, the infantry inside will all survive. So that is kind of a big deal, because once again, it's like a second chance. So here we've got some war knowing. Sadly, I've got this problem with YouTube lately where it just doesn't load the videos. My internet connection's fine, I don't know, it's probably because I've got 5 million tabs open or something, and a video game, and I'm recording a video in 4K. Well, you're just gonna have to believe me. Right, so look at this. Infantry, full of guys, right, tank shot, bam, one hit kill, everybody inside dead. I'm sorry you couldn't really see that. It's just, it takes so long to load. Anyway, so here we go. Tank. And this isn't a very good tank, it's a T-62. Bam, one shot, all dead, everybody inside dead. Right, very unforgiving gameplay. Broken Arrow, more forgiving, a lot more forgiving. Always giving you a second chance. So in Broken Arrow, it doesn't really work like that at all. You do have second chances and so on, except if it's a plane. So what that means is that you can actually do some really fun things in it, where you just drive a transport right up to some guys and unload them. This ended up not going very well for me, but it's the thought that counts. I got hit by a plane, because planes can still one-shot, right? But yeah, it's more casual. It's kind of, the attacks are just kind of a bit more arcadey in a way, and I actually find that fun, to tell you the truth. Like I said, I'm an equal opportunity shitposter. So the last thing is some of the other game mechanics are just sort of casualized. So in Wano, I know I keep coming back to Wano, if a tank drives into a forest, even a very cheap infantry unit will kill that tank. That tank will be gone. I've got an absolutely hilarious video on my channel of the worst infantry squad in the game taking out the best tank in the game. That was because of a crit and some randomness, but, you know, we'll get on to randomness. So that's kind of, it's kind of hard for a casual player to remember that tanks are good in the open against infantry, but tanks are not good in an urban environment against infantry, and tanks aren't good in a forest against infantry. Whereas in Broken Arrow, the tank will always beat the infantry. So here's infantry, right? I'm infantrying. So Wano, this man is overextended. Teleports behind you, nothing personal, kid. Doo-doo, bam, dead. Right? So if you drive your vehicles too close to the forest, they're goners. Whereas in the open, the vehicles are better. But in Broken Arrow, the vehicles are good in the open, they're good in the forest, they're good in the town. I'm surprised they can't fly, to be honest. and so the infantry just doesn't beat the vehicle basically ever. And you know, so this guy gets ambushed by an anti-tank team. We're talking about second chances. I mean, I hit him 10 times and he just drives off. That's Broken Arrow. That's Broken Arrow. It's supposed to be like that. He made a mistake, and the game said, it's okay, here's your second chance, here's your 10th chance, right? And that's casual play. This guy, he wants extra chances. We've been over it, right? Um, and so, yeah, the point I was trying to make in this specific case is that it's kind of hard to remember tank is good here, tank is bad here, whereas in Broken Arrow, tank good, right? Tank good, it's fine, it's all you have to remember. It's nice, it's good for casual players. So at this point, we were talking about RNG, and I have to compliment Broken Arrow here on something they've done which actually makes the game less casual, which is that there's less RNG in this game than there is in Wano, and some comparative titles. A lot of RTSs don't have any RNG in them. RNG, random number generator, is the bane of my existence in Wano. Basically, you can have situations where... so this tank can be right next to this tank, and the tank on the right, because if they're right next to each other, they do a lot more damage, and they can one-shot each other if they're right next to each other. And you're hitting side armor and stuff. Broken Arrow, like we said, more forgiving. The tank on the right can miss, and then the tank on the left just kills him, even though it, even though it's you know it's almost three times it's less than one third the price, right? And RNG it's a casualizer. RNG makes games more casual because a good player, you know, knows the outcome in his head and then does what he thinks is going to work, or what he knows should work. Whereas in a casual, the RNG casualizes that by the good player can do everything right and still just lose. So sort of the most obvious example of this is with like AA. So here's an AA piece. It used to have 40% accuracy. Now it's 45. Here's a very, very good American plane. I have seen instances where the Cub, right, and the American plane has something called ECM in the bottom left, which makes it less likely to be hit. I've seen instances where the Cub shoots at the Strike Eagle. It hits, which for starters is totally RNG, and you see it says HE9 and the Strike Eagle has 10 HP. There is also a 0.5% chance to deal 1 additional damage, if you can believe that. I've seen instances where the Cub shoots once, its first shot on the Strike Eagle, hits the Strike Eagle, which is unlikely anyway, crits the Strike Eagle, which is absurd, and one-shots it. And well, going back to the unforgiving nature, this deck only gets 2 of those. And the whole deck is it used to be built around this concept. And so that's utter nonsense. Like we said, equal opportunities complainer, right? So I've got to commend Broken Arrow on this because it does have less RNG on it. Things tend to always hit. There are cases I've seen where things miss, and it does affect outcomes, but because you always get the second chance, you get regenerating units, and things tend to always hit, and it tends to be less RNG, there is just overall, it's a more deterministic game. So I do vastly prefer that. So I have to compliment Broken Arrow for that. And it would be more casual if it had RNG in it. So hopefully they don't put RNG in it now that I've said that. I don't think they're going to watch this at all, right? So the penultimate section is something called Flashy Lights, or I would call it the Rule of Cool. Broken Arrow is a lot cooler than Wano, and this is something which appeals more to a casual audience. Imagine you're this man. Many of us are this man. I'm this man. Trying to do my PhD thesis. It's just not working out. The only way I'm still in this, because they stopped paying me, right, is because of the generous channel joiners generously joining the channel. They get their names on the screen, they get the videos early, they get members exclusive videos at a rate of 1 a week, and they're basically my sole source of income. Or all of you are, I suppose, because of the ad revenue on watching the videos and stuff. So I do appreciate you watching the video. I'm sorry for just interjecting this shilling. Like I said, I don't script these, but I do need to shill at some point, otherwise I'll run out of money and die. But this is me. I really do sympathize with this man. Anyway, he wants to see cool things, right? Does he have time to learn this? Does he have time to learn Because when you're in game, it just comes up with a label that says this. Does he have time to learn the difference between the SFL-H2S3M152mm and the FLA-SFL57-2, which are very different? One's an AA piece and one's a big artillery gun. No, he doesn't. He doesn't care about that. This is something that really annoys me. This used to be called Acacia, which is a nice name, which is easier to remember. They deliberately changed it to make it more complicated. Oh dear. Anyway, equal opportunities complainer, right? So, Broken Arrow has a lot of cool stuff in it. It has a lot of cool stuff in it, and this appeals more to a casual audience. This playlist covers a lot of cool things. A lot of cool things going on. The main one, so you get like laser-guided artillery in this game. It's like I said, it just takes ages to load. It's so annoying. So look, I've got. Do you see this laser beam? And then the HIMARS or whatever, the MLRS, it just homes in on it. Bam, bam, pew. It's so cool. It's so cool. Did you see how it took 3 shots to kill it, even though it was a tiny little thing? Anyway, but that's very cool. That's very cool. You can also like parachute out of planes. I don't actually have a good, easy to get to footage of them parachuting out of planes. You can drop nukes. Right.
Check this out.
Let's check this out. Bam! It's like grossly. I mean, this is like the epitome of casual gameplay. You can just wipe out. Like if your enemy spends 20 minutes building up an attack, you can just press the no button and just kill it all. But hey, it looks very, very cool. And I think that Broken Arrow, in terms of like the actual graphical quality of the models, like the actual, like look, this just looks better. Okay, it looks better. There's more detail. I'm right zoomed in, and you can still see the roundness on these things. And this is zoomed out, and it just doesn't. The graphical quality isn't as good, but it's like more stylized. So some people say they prefer the graphics. That's completely fine. But yeah, this is the ultimate kind of casual gameplay here, dropping a nuke on somebody, but it looks cool, right? Not in terms of number of polygons on the screen. It looks cool. Check this out. Yeah. Me and my mates came home from work, had a bad day, dropped a nuke on some bozo who was shit-talking me. Die. Yeah, that's fun. I mean, this guy, he wants to see that. He wants to see that. He wants to see that. That's going to make him smile. He does not want to see SFL-H2S3M 152mm, right? And there's other casualized things. So if we go to... Where are we? Oh, yeah. So the end game screen. These are just like basic things, which just looking at the levels, a lot of games don't have. So, okay. I mean, nobody got one this time. Oh no, here they are. So you get medals for completing certain objectives during the game. Some of the medals are literally like, I'm a retard award. Pin that one on his chest. I mean, unironically, but yeah, you get this end game screen. You can level up. You can level up your character. This is all very important in modern games. Warner doesn't have any of this. You can level up. You can customize your profile to have. You can play dress up like a 7-year-old. If they want to do that, that's this guy. He wants to go back to his childhood, right? And you get cool cosmetics, which are just kind of, from a gameplay perspective, don't really matter. But from a casual perspective, great. Yeah, I can play dress up. I can get my medals. I can level up. These are all great things for a casual player. And they appeal to a casual audience, and so I think it's good that they're doing it. The last and most important thing which we need to cover is that Broken Arrow is really expensive. It's not cheap at all. This is the early access edition, but even then it's like 45 or 40. 50 quid for a video game, right? That's where this guy is winning, because he can afford that because he sits in that office and drives that car, right? Whereas the sweaty ass player who's unemployed and plays a game for 16 hours a day, not only can he not afford the game, he also can't afford to run the game because the game doesn't run very well. So this guy, he's winning. That's good for the casual audience, that. So in summary, we've been through a lot. I'm sorry it took so long, but there's a lot to cover. I've got a lot to say. I hope you enjoyed it up to this point. The game is designed for casual play, and in many cases it sacrifices the competitive element to do that, right? So no 1v1 at launch because they were working on the casual stuff. High elo players get put with low elo players. Sorry, high elo player, maybe you should get a job. and stuff like that. But that's a good thing because this game appealed to competitive players only and has one player. This game appealed to competitive players only and has 19 players. This game appealed to competitive players only and has 61 players. These games appeal to casual players and have, 22,548 players. So if you want this game to succeed, you need to be nice to the casuals. And games that do it the other way around all flop. So I'm still going to be playing Broken Arrow. So here's the script, right? I mean, notes, right? It's not really a script. I just wrote out everything I wanted to say, and I just occasionally looked over and, you know, um, yeah. So I hope you have a lovely day. I'm sorry there isn't like super cool editing, but I'm a casual YouTuber. And yeah, please check out. I'm going to be doing a launch stream. I'm going to be doing a launch day stream, so that'll come out tomorrow. About this time tomorrow, I'll be live streaming, and you can check that out. We've got our own Discord where you can play some casual games. Right, you can join as a channel joiner and pay for my PhD because they stopped funding me. And apart from that, I hope you enjoy Broken Arrow because it's going to be fun and I'm afraid I'm not the target audience, but I'm still going to play it. So have a lovely day.